Shalom.
Shalom. Hi.
Welcome back. We're glad that you're here.
Yes, joining us.
Joining us again to read Daniel. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit, maybe I was thinking like, maybe we shouldn't have done this because
It's a commitment.
it is a commitment.
But-
And I was reading Daniel too. We were reading it now actually last week, but I was kind of going back over it before we did this video. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much here. So what were we going to say about it?
I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, but
We'll just dive right
there's
in.
just so much here, and it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to
Miss anything?
miss anything.
Yeah.
The thing is like this is not going to be totally comprehensive. It can't be because we would go through this. We've been through Daniel many times, especially over the last 4 years since I've came to the idea of millennial kingdom being that we've already had the millennial kingdom. I've gone through Daniel so many times after that, and it's each time I go through it, it's like more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then as you go into extra biblical texts, you find just so much more that you could share. So there's no way we could get all the material in here. So we're probably going to leave some stuff out. We could finish this whole Daniel study and then go back through it and do it completely different things and get even more information. So so the whole goal in this, I think, is to better understand Daniel. And not to say that we have the right understanding, but I do believe we're going to throw in a lot of extra biblical texts and a lot of things within Scripture, or at least the canon, to show our standpoint on Daniel. I think the reason I want to go through this, and we said this in the last video, is that because when we read Daniel, like I've said this before, I'm just saying this for anyone new who's coming here to see it, but Daniel is, in my opinion, the most
Prophetic.
prophetic, most detailed prophecy in all of Scripture. At least according to the official history that we've been given for kings, for nations, for all these things. It's so detailed. There's no other prophecy that's that detailed.
Right.
It literally goes line by line with actually what happened. There's a few changes that history made to try to hide Messiah. Because Daniel gave the prophecy for Messiah coming. Everyone was ready. You read Gospel of Colati, a lot of the other Gnostic, those evil Gnostic Gospels, that you're not supposed to read. They're all amazing, by the way. But you read those other ones, everyone was ready for a Messiah. Why were they ready? Because they knew the covenant with Adam. They knew the 5.5 day covenant promised to Adam to bring him out of Sheol. Yeah. They also knew, and they knew that time was coming, they also knew the prophecy within Daniel. We'll get into that later. It's in Daniel 9 and 7, 11, and 12. All those chapters are incredible.
Yeah. And don't you think also that there was just wisdom that was imparted upon them? I mean, like that they knew. I mean, we are so far removed from our understanding of these texts, and they were so much closer to it.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the time, not just the timeline, but just that passing down, right, of knowledge and information from the previous generations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're waking up in this short season trying to seek wisdom in our later years. I mean, we didn't come to the truth of Torah until we were 35, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, we lived 30 years before, trying to do the right thing, growing up in church and stuff, but not coming to the full knowledge of righteousness, to the instructions of righteousness of the Father. And so he's waking up a generation right now, especially the seed of the generation. We have so many of y'all waking up that have kids, that have children who are growing up Torah observant, who are seeking the Father's ways and knowing him so much deeper. My boys know the Father so much more than I knew. I mean, and I was in church. I mean, my mom made sure I was in church every single day.
Yeah, memorizing Scripture, reading the Bible.
We went to the same Christian school. I mean, we grew up, the stereotypical Christian, like you always in church, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, every time, always involved in youth group.
Yeah.
And my boys know more than I did when I was 30. It's incredible.
And they know more, I think, of a historical perspective too, of Scripture, right? Like, I mean, that's what I feel like, and I've said this before, is like we missed out on that. Like in our Christian schools, in our churches, like we didn't have a good foundation or understanding of just history. Yeah. The history that we were taught I said it before, it's garbage. I mean, it really is.
Sure, yeah.
But I feel like our boys, the way that we teach history, I've been asked this before, like, what kind of history curriculum do you use for, your boys? I'm like, the Bible. That's what we use as our foundation. And I think that has helped them just have a much bigger picture, of Yah's word. Just knowing that, hey, and we want them. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want them to not know about, I don't know if I want to talk about American history or not, but what's more important to me is the foundation of Scripture. Like, I want to teach them and train them in the ways of Yah.
I'm sure you test everything
And
according to that,
that's
against
right.
that. So you have to have that foundation to be able to test what you're being taught
Right.
somewhere else.
Right.
It doesn't mean everything in history is wrong.
No, but
But it does mean that we need to have that foundation first.
yeah, that I
And-
wish that had been taught. Like, I mean, we went to a Christian school and we weren't even taught biblical history. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the kings. I
Well,
knew nothing about the division of Judah and Israel. Like, I knew nothing
Yeah.
about any of that. Like, I'm just still coming to the full understanding of so much of that.
Well,
that piece of
the more we
Scripture.
see this Bible, this
Yeah.
canon, the more we see it as not only a instruction book for righteousness or for our doctrine for the soul,
Yeah.
because most people would agree that that's what it is. But the more we see it as, it's actually a science curriculum. It's actually a science book. It's actually a history book. And the more we see that, we can really dig in and especially in science. I mean, if you've come to the knowledge of biblical cosmology, to me, it's like I read things in this scripture. I either choose to believe it or I choose to believe science. Science being the world science.
Yeah.
I can choose to believe either one. Even whatever science is teaching. I choose to believe what Yah wrote, his word, the word that he gave to his prophets. I choose to believe that, even though it might be a little crazy, even though it might not be yet proven. That's what I choose to believe in. And then you go down to history, you've got to believe in what biblical history is saying. We found the differences within Daniel. We'll get to that later in some other chapters. But official history changed the names. They changed dates too of certain kings. And the reason is to hide Messiah. That's what we were just talking about, is because Messiah was known in the first century, the beginning of the first century. Messiah was known. They were ready for him. They were all waiting for him. There was many Messiahs coming around. Barabbas was one Messiah. There was tons of Messiahs. I mean, so many. And everyone was looking who they were going to worship, who they were going to follow as
but
Mashiach.
that urgency. Urgency was there.
Yeah, because they knew the time was coming to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
what we really wanted to do, just get back so I can finish my point was, the reason we're doing this is because we have found, studying and trying to prove millennial reign. Okay, I've been trying to prove it to myself.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want to just believe something. I want to actually prove it with Scripture. I don't want to look at old buildings and say, well, millennial reign happened. I don't want to look at Tartaria or whatever and say, oh, millennial reign happened. I want to prove it with Scripture. It has to be proven with Scripture. And when we look at the prophecies of Messiah, every prophecy of Messiah, at least that I have found so far, it's the advent of Messiah, and then immediately after, it's his reign. It's the beginning of the reign. And Daniel is no different. Daniel is the exact same thing, and that's one reason why we want to go through this, to kind of show that Daniel happened. Everything in Daniel
Fulfilled.
it's
I hate to say
fulfilled. But
you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it happened, and as much as we want to make it fit our time, it's not our time.
Yeah.
And
I think there's still warnings, and there's
Sure, I mean-
things in it that we can heed, right? That we can truly look at and say, okay, this maybe not for our time, but this is very much relevant, very much applicable, and we need to heed the time of Daniel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you do not know the time frame of Daniel, then when you get to 2nd Esdras 12 and 13 and 14, you're not going to know where those nations fit in either. And so when you know Daniel, it's a building block for 2nd Esdras, Baruch. We're actually going to read from Baruch again too. And when you know these different nations that are supposed to come up, you'll actually figure out what time frame you're in.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
So I think that's, when we want to know where we're at in history, to me, this is a treasure hunt, and I don't care if I'm wrong. If something pops up and we're like, oh my goodness, millennial reign didn't happen, that's totally fine. I will be first on board to bow my knee and say I was wrong if Yeshua shows up in the sky and is ready to begin the millennial reign.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I do not care.
Yeah, I think like we want to be ready. We don't have a desire to be right. We want to be ready.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't care to be wrong, but I just love the treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And the more I seek in this, it just seems like we've been lied to. We've been lied to that Messiah has reigned. He is still reigning. He's, I believe, still here. And they're hiding him. You know, why wouldn't they? Listen, this world's wicked. Why wouldn't they have? Okay, we got to hurry up and do this because this is going to be too long. Okay. So Daniel 2. So this is a huge chapter. We read the first one. This is really designed for you to dig in and read it. We're not going to put the verses up on screen mainly because I don't want to edit. but we don't want to put it up on.
To be real.
Yeah, we don't want to put it up on screen because I want y'all to go read it together. And I know you've read it before, but the more we read this, the more we're going to pick out of it.
Okay.
Because there's some amazing things we could pick out of here in the first part of Daniel 2, but what we're really interested in and what we really want to talk about is kind of the interpretation of the dream. So I guess Daniel 36.
Okay.
236.
Well, okay. All right. So I'll start reading and then you just stop me.
Okay.
This is the dream and its interpretation we declare before the king. You, O king, sovereign, are a sovereign of sovereigns. For the Allah of the heavens has given you a reign, power, strength, and preciousness. And wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field and the birds of the heavens, he has given them into your hand and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold.
Yeah, I think this is amazing because this is the statue, okay? So there's a statue. This dream is about a statue, you know, and we're going to get into that. But I think what's really cool here, and you'll find this with so many Gentile kings, is that Yah chooses them. You know, Cyrus in Isaiah is called, I think it's Isaiah, right? It's called Messiah. Yeah, it's in Isaiah.
Yes, it's in Isaiah.
He's called Messiah, the anointed.
Yes.
So they actually call Cyrus a Messiah. This is a Gentile king. Same with Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar bowed down, you know, at some point in Daniel and says, hey, there is no Elohim but the Elohim of you, Daniel. You know, he believed in Elohim. We have multiple times throughout history, all these kings, you know, Cyrus gave the command to build the temple. You also have, you know, Herod building a temple. You have many instances where these kings, even though they weren't the best of kings, Yah used them. We talked about this in our temple study when we, you know, we want to do another extra video about that because there's so much more information has come out about the temple being round and actually being here today. What we think is the same temple that's here today. But anyways, you know, the first temple built by demons. According to the Testament of Solomon, Solomon commissioned demons to help build the temple, or spirits, and which is crazy. But Yah is using these entities to do this. Cyrus gives the command to build the second temple, and then you have Herod rebuilding the second temple, tears it down to the ground according to Josephus, and rebuilds it again, being the third temple. It's destroyed by the Romans. Then you have Hadrian later on building what we know now as the Dome of the Rock. Still an evil king, but then afterwards, that temple, in all cases afterwards, those temples are rededicated to Yahuwah, and actually sacrifices are done. There were sacrifices done at the Dome of the Rock, which is incredible according to some strange history, not official history. But it's really amazing because you have these Gentile kings being used in all cases. And so, I mean, that's even something when we look at kings today. I know people will argue both ways, especially for our current king here in America. And, you know, I don't know that we should be like, I don't know, that's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyways, let's go ahead.
Okay, verse 39, and after you rises up another reign, lower than yours, and another third reign of bronze that rules over all the earth. Okay,
so the head of the statue, gold, is Babylon. The second, Persia, is the one that's going to rule after. The third kingdom, brass, which you bear rule over all the earth. This is explained more later on in Daniel. That's why we're, you know,
holding off a little. Or go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, we could talk about Greece, Persia, and all this, but just going by official history, these are the next kings that come. later on in Daniel, I don't want to get this wrong when I say it. I think it's Daniel 7. Yes, Daniel 7. No, I'm sorry, Daniel 8. Belshazzar, who was ruling Babylon at that time, is told, and we'll talk about that more. But that's when Persia is supposed to take over. When Persia comes and takes over, he prophesies Darius coming in and taking over the kingdom. And then later on, he does prophesy of Alexander the Great for Greece coming in. Mm-hmm. So these are the line of the kingdoms. And if we read Daniel right now with a 2020 lens, we're looking back. We're using official history. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, official history is pretty good. At least in my opinion, before Rome.
Yeah.
Everything before Rome seems to be lining up with Scripture. We test all things according to Scripture. So what we find in the canon, what we find in these writings, mm-hmm. We test all things according to it. So if this said something different, I would be like, no, I don't trust that.
Right.
And which it does when you get up to Rome. Even with some of the kings, there's a difference between the LXX in Daniel and the Masoretic Hebrew, mm-hmm. With Darius and Cyrus, because they were trying to hide when Messiah came, the 483 or 490 days. So they're trying to hide when Messiah came. This is a big argument with Tovia Singer. I don't know if anyone knows Tovia Singer. I don't really encourage anyone to watch him, but he's just a Jewish evangelist against Messiah. Mm-hmm. But he uses this. I'm like, you read the LXX. The LXX gives you the original king. They actually changed the kings in the Masoretic to hide Messiah. Yeah. They wanted to show that Messiah didn't fulfill Daniel, that he wasn't the Mashiach. And it actually goes perfectly together if you do a little research.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so we have Babylon.
We have Persia, and then Greece,
right?
And
then Greece, yeah.
All right, so those are the first three rulers. The fourth reign, verse 40, is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. So like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all these.
Yeah, you can keep
Okay, tell me when to stop. Yet as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the rain is to be divided. But some of the strength of the iron is to be in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay.
Okay, so it's common belief that this is Rome. There's so much commentary on Daniel. You can go and find commentary for thousands of years. People have been commenting and trying to figure out who this is and what Daniel's talking about. So don't necessarily take our word for it. I mean, we're just another person with an opinion.
Yeah.
But it's common that this is the Roman Empire, the legs of the statue, it's also believed that this is the Eastern and Western Roman Empire. This is why it was divided. So you had the Eastern Empire, which would have been in Constantinople. Mm-hmm. The Eastern Empire actually got preserved through the Millennial Kingdom. Why? Because they actually turned to Christianity. Not that Christianity is perfect, but Christianity was seeking Messiah. And they were actually living holy and righteous lives and believed in the instructions of righteousness in those first centuries. After they were done killing off the followers of Messiah and the followers of the Torah, they actually came to a lot of the truth. And even Constantine, we're reading some stuff in Constantine. Maybe I should say I'm reading some stuff in Constantine that is very interesting, because we actually have two Constantines throughout history that I think they're trying to paint him as a different person. That the actual Constantine was actually kind of a righteous man and bringing people to righteousness. And when he did this, I think he salvaged his kingdom, at least the eastern part of the Roman Empire. We know the Western Roman Empire in Italy, Rome itself, fell in the 500s. Mm-hmm. So, and it was destroyed by the Mongols. There's a whole story there. So I'm up for the debate. I'm up for, maybe not believing this is Rome. I do think this is Rome, mm-hmm. this fourth kingdom. And there's some reasons why I think that. But I have in the back of my mind, why are they hiding this, worldwide kingdom known as Tartaria? Mm-hmm. And Tartaria was the same kingdom by the Mongols, by the Huns, was another group within Tartaria that destroyed the Roman Empire in the 500s. And then later on, with Genghis Khan, really started, the Great Chan went through and basically established Tartaria, broke in pieces the world. I mean, they were conquering everything. They even had land here in the Americas. So it's really interesting. And I have read a lot of writings, older writings in the 1500s, that talk about Tartaria being the seed of Cain and the same seed of Ham. So some interesting things there. So I would be okay with this being Tartaria, but I think we need to study that out more. But I do think this is the Roman Empire, because I do think we have part of the Roman Empire even today.
Were you going to read anything from, Ezra's?
Yeah, I do want to read real quick before we get any further. I do want to read Josephus. And the reason we're reading Josephus is because Josephus had a first century view of this stuff. So it's much older than, we're looking back 2,000 years from then, at least what we think is 2,000 years.
It's a closer eyewitness account than anything today.
Yeah, it's like that game you play when you're a kid and you do this.
Telephone.
Is that what it is?
The telephone game?
Telephone game, yeah. By the time you get to the end of the line, it's like a totally different word.
Yeah, story.
You know, the story when it started before. So, so if you want to get the full story, or at least closer to it, you got to go back,
Okay.
And, yeah. You can start.
Okay, all right. So we're in chapter 10 of the Antiquities of the Jews, and right here, thou. Let me go up a little bit.
Yeah, you can start there.
Okay, wherefore, as thou in thy sleep wast solicitous concerning those that should succeed thee in the government of the whole world, Elohim was desirous to show thee all those that should reign after thee, and to that end exhibited to thee the following dream. Thou seemest to see a great image standing before thee, and the head of which proved to be of gold, the shoulders and arms of silver, and the belly and the thighs of brass, but the legs and the feet of iron. After that which sawest a stone broken off from a mountain, which fell upon the image and threw it down, and brake it to pieces, and did not permit any part of it to remain whole. But the gold, the silver, the brass, and the iron became smaller than meal, which upon the blast of a violent wind was by force carried away and scattered abroad. But the stone did increase to such a degree that the whole earth beneath it seemed to be filled wherewith.
Okay, so we kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit in Daniel, in Josephus. But what's amazing here is Josephus doesn't mention iron and clay. He mentions the legs and the feet were made of iron. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's no iron and clay feet, but I do think that maybe Josephus is telling us something here. Maybe there has been something added. I don't know. But what's interesting here, he says, we'll get into the kingdom comes in the midst of these kings. Daniel's going to tell us that here in just a second. But the kingdom of Messiah comes in the midst, not after. He doesn't come after Rome. He comes in the midst of all this stuff. So in the midst of all these kings, he comes, he breaks into pieces the head of gold, the body of brass.
He's the stone, right?
Yeah, he's the stone that the kingdom is the stone that breaks all these in pieces, scatters it over the whole earth. Isn't that interesting? I mean, look at the kind of where we're at today. We still have these kingdoms. There's Rome still here, Greece is still here, Babylon's not, but the descendants of Babylon are here. Descendants of Persia are here. All these kingdoms are here. They're just scattered. And they don't have the same strength because they've been broken. There's a verse in 2nd Baruch. I don't know if we need to read it. I always quote it, but it says, anyone who's had their hand in Israel is going to be destroyed.
In terms of like trying to destroy them.
Anyone who's tried to destroy Israel will be destroyed and broken. And we look at anybody who's had their hand in Israel, Greece being one of them. I mean, they're still discovering ruins of Greece, of Rome, of Persia, of Babylon. All these people who've had their hand in Israel were completely obliterated by something. We look at the Roman ruins. This is what amazes me. Is we look at Roman ruins, which have been the closest kingdom to where we're at right now in history, and they're still digging up stuff today. What in the world happened to Rome? Was it just like Google says? Google says the Mongols came and destroyed it. Really? They really pulled down the amphitheater and the Colosseum, all these huge structures. They really went in and burnt these things made of marble. How did they burn this stuff? Something extraordinary happened. We have a book called The Chronological History of Earth. I don't want to say earth, wind, and fire. That's not bad, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
But
It's chronological events of the earth.
okay, let me get it.
Okay.
All right, this is a reprint. It's a general chronological history of the air, weather, seasons, meteors, right there. It's a reprint. I think it was printed in 1700.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. You really get a picture of the world that's kind of been hidden from us.
1749.
1749. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So some crazy stuff has been happening. I mean, it happened here, and especially in between 400 to 700. I mean, almost the whole Earth was obliterated. There was not many people walking around. I mean, we almost went extinct. And why was that? I mean, what happened? And when I was just talking about Rome, it's like, what happened to bury these things? And we find this all over the world. But why wouldn't we think some cataclysm happened? Why do we believe what Google says about everything? That they were, oh yeah, these just like barbarians came and they just destroyed everything. Like, no, this stuff was buried in ashes. Something extraordinary happened to these nations that once had their hand in Israel. Part of the 70 shepherds, the 70 angels that were ruling the world, they got judged. There was a major judgment going on before the millennial kingdom. I think after the millennial kingdom, we're going to see the judgment of the watchers. So right now we have over 200 nations. There was over 200, I think it says 200 watchers that fell in Enoch. So I think those are ruling the nations right now. But I do think we are in these pieces left over. Maybe the iron and clay, but it's also these pieces that the kingdom has shattered. And what I think is amazing about what Josephus says, he says, but the stone did increase. The stone being the kingdom of Messiah, did increase to such a degree that the whole earth beneath it seemed to be filled therewith. I love that. The kingdom of Messiah increased. It started out small. What is the kingdom like? Think about what Messiah says. The kingdom is like a seed, right? It's something small that when it's planted, it grows into a great tree. I'm paraphrasing, but there are so many parables about the kingdom and what they're like. They all are small. They're all, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who finds treasure, right? And hides it in a field, hides it under a rock or in the dirt in a field, then goes and sells all he has to buy that field. It's like the kingdom of heaven's a tiny thing. It starts out small. So small, in fact, that when it first started, it was killed off. It was crucified. And then that kingdom went to the disciples and they were killed. They were crucified upside down, boiled alive, stoned, hung by their ankles on a temple. So many crazy things that you read about in extra biblical texts. And sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, go ahead. No.
Okay, but anyways, the kingdom started out so small, and then it grew, and then before you know it, nations started following Messiah. Whole nations, even Rome itself. Constantine saved Rome. I really believe that he saved Rome, probably because it's his mother Helena saved Rome. But all these nations started slowly changing over to Christianity, and that's what happened. It increased.
Yeah. And
we are in the remnants of that right now. We're in what is the short season being told a lie that no, that kingdom didn't happen. Well, we talked about this in our remnants of the millennial kingdom video, and we were talking about how if we look at our past, the world hasn't gotten progressively worse since Messiah. It should have. If we believe the millennial kingdom hasn't happened, it should be progressively worse and worse and worse. But it hasn't, because we look at our past and people are actually holy. People used to be holy just 200 years ago. People were holy people just 100 years ago. I mean, we're talking about my grandparents, your grandparents, people like that. They were holy.
Holier than this generation.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so
do you want me to kind of, since you just read that in Josephus, let me go ahead and read down to 40.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because that's the stone that we just mentioned. So verse 43, and as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they are mixing themselves with the seed of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. You may want to come back to this.
Yes.
And in the days of these kings, the Ella of the heavens shall set up a rain which shall never be destroyed. Mashiach, Messiah's kingdom, right? Nor the rain pass on to other people. It crushes and puts to an end all these reigns, and it shall stand forever. That's huge. Because you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elah has made known to the king what shall be after this. And the dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy. Let me stop there, or do you just go and finish reading?
No, we can stop there.
Okay.
Okay, so verse 44, this is incredible, talking about in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom. Okay, so his kingdom is going to be set up in the days of these kings, in the midst, which I think is amazing, because this is saying, hey, if Rome is this fourth kingdom, which I believe it is, I don't have any doubt that it is, but I'm just open to possibilities.
Yeah.
But if Rome is this kingdom, then it's set up in the midst. We said this before in a joking way, not in a derogatory or not in a disrespectful way, but we believe the millennial kingdom is the cankles of the statue, because you have this space at some point. Yeah, the space between the feet and the legs. You have a space where the millennial kingdom was set up. By the way, millennial kingdom, when we call it millennial kingdom, it's only mentioned, I don't want to say this wrong, I think it's only mentioned once as being 1,000-year kingdom. There is an extra biblical text, I don't know where it's at, that talks about being a millennial, 1,000-year reign. But as far as I know, only Revelation is the only one that's designated it as 1,000 years. Daniel tells you when the kingdom's set up, when Messiah, the advent of Messiah comes, Isaiah says the same thing, that's when the kingdom starts. Okay, it is a kingdom that is forever. That means it's still going on. You ask any Christian today, who's reigning? Who's sitting on the throne?
Jesus.
Yeshua, Jesus, Jesus, sitting on the throne right now, ruling. Okay?
So we can all agree.
We can all agree he's ruling in his kingdom. Okay? So why wouldn't we think the millennial kingdom already happened? I think when we're talking about the millennial kingdom, we're specifically talking about how long.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, go.
How long Hasatan was locked up.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Hasatan's been locked up multiple times. Also, there are multiple Satans, deceivers. There are multiple accusers before the Most High, accusing us and trying to deceive us constantly. So there are multiple people being locked up at different times. That's the hard part of trying to figure this out. Is we even have watchers right now. I believe the watchers are. I believe they're released and trying to do the exact same thing they did in Noah's day.
Teaching the people
Yeah.
the ways of Cain, the ways of...
Well, they already have. I mean,
Yeah.
the last 200 years, the Industrial Revolution is just the teaching of the watchers. The way we've changed in the last 200 years is exactly the way things happened in Enoch to Noah and his descendants, or his fathers.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same thing
Yeah.
that we're seeing. And I do believe we're in the short season when the devil has been released, and he's allowing all this to happen. He's accusing us before the Father and keeping us in this place of deception where we're having to dig our way out of so many lies. But anyways, so I believe when we talk about the millennial reign, we're not talking about a finite 1,000 years, Yeshua rules, and that's it. No. Like Yeshua is infinite. Yeah, it's forever. His city, the city of Mashiach, paradise, that he opened up for anyone to come in, for whosoever gets to come into paradise, which is incredible. I can't wait that we have that opportunity by grace. It's by Yahuwah's love for us, his favor towards us, which is amazing. But we got to prove ourselves worthy of that. And so as we do that, we get to enter paradise, which is amazing. I think that's incredible. But once that started, by the way, he allowed the thief on the cross to go to paradise. He opened the gates right there. He had the keys. We talked about this in our paradise video. Go back. It's just 2 videos ago. It's incredible. We're talking about paradise. I think you mentioned a verse that was, I can't remember where it's at, but he had the keys. It was the Testament of Adam. Yeah. He had the keys to paradise to open it back up for people to go in.
Yeah.
So this thief on the cross got to go in to start the millennial reign. There's a parable, I can't remember it, but it says the children that were given the promise enter in last. And these other people are getting to come in first, and they're upset. It's like it's the same thing with the prodigal son.
Yeah.
The son returns from the pig pen, unclean pig pen, and gets this huge celebration, come back to the father's house, and the guy that's always been there, the other brother, is like, hey, what about me?
Yeah.
You know? And so this is exactly what happened. I mean, you had the kingdom opened up forever. It's still open right now. Still open for whoever wants to go. It's never ended. But that little finite 1,000 years, which is just a day to Yah, that's the Sabbath rest for the whole world, where the world could enjoy a Sabbath rest. It could enjoy some peace. It could enjoy proper sacrifice, proper ways of the Torah being spread across the whole world. And I lost my thought. But the reason it ended is because the devil was released. So the only reason we have a 1,000-year thing there is just it's the millennial kingdom. Okay, so but I do want to talk about so this thing has always confused me. Verse 43, it says, whereas thou sawest iron mixed with merry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. There's been a lot of things thought here. I thought iron and clay, this is metals within humans, this is, transhumanism. Could be. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, you've got metal in you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I made some bad decisions with surgeries. I've got a ACL repair, a hernia repair, all kinds of stuff. That's stupid. I should have never done it. But yeah, I have metal within me. It's probably not mixing well with me, and I'll probably suffer the consequences in later years, if not already. but it's not mixing. Iron and clay doesn't mix. So is this what we're talking about? Because right now in our time, they're trying to mix all this. It's transhumanism. We are entering a time when this is going to be not only something they're pushing on you, but something you see on a daily basis. Robotic people.
Yeah.
They're already robotic. They're just following suit, and easily controllable. But we're starting to see that, we're going to really see it. Okay. I'm being stared at by a cow. She wanting food or something?
Probably.
I don't know. Okay.
So it could be that, but what are your other thoughts?
It could be that. I'm going to throw out another suggestion. This is from Enoch, chapter 39, verse 1. I'm going to start with chapter 38, verse 5, just to kind of give you what this is talking about.
Let me read. Then shall the kings and the mighty perish, and be given into the hands of the righteous and holy. And thenceforward none shall seek for themselves mercy from Yahuwah of spirits. Okay, so just give you a kind of synopsis of what this is saying. We're entering a time when the kings are going to perish. The world's going to be given to the righteous. This is Enoch 93. If we've done a video on Enoch 93, please read Enoch 93. It's the amazing prophecy. But it says a sword will be given to the righteous. This is prophesied throughout everywhere, throughout a lot of the prophets, Isaiah especially, but throughout a lot of prophets, where swords given to the righteous to go and exact righteousness across the earth. People will turn to righteousness. There will not be total peace in the millennial kingdom. Well, there wasn't, and if it's still to come, there will not be. In the kingdom there was. The holy mountain, right?
Yeah. The holy mountain where Messiah is dwelling. Total peace, amazing peace. But across the world's trying to take its place. The righteousness is trying to take its place, and it was given this ability for righteousness to come forward. The sword was given to righteousness. They fought off evil. They fought off the demons. They fought off evil kings, and they slowly brought forth righteousness across the whole world. And then this is all in Enoch 93, but you can keep going.
Yeah. For their life is at end, chapter 39, verse 1. And it shall come to pass in those days that elect and holy children will descend from the high heaven, and their seed will become one with the children of men. Okay,
so that's what I wanted to. I'm just putting forth an idea here. This is also in the ascension of Isaiah. It says the saints are going to come down. They're going to mingle with men, and they are going. These are the saints. These are the resurrected. This would have been, in my opinion, anyone before Messiah. At that first resurrection, at his crucifixion. We don't hear much about that resurrection, but there was an actual worldwide resurrection when Messiah was crucified. There is some, I think Josephus talks about it, if I'm not mistaken. Man, I wish I had that, what I read it. But there was, graves were opened in Rome. And Constantinople, I think they talk about that as well. Graves were opened up at this time in Rome, not just in Israel. So there were people coming up out of the grave all across the world during this resurrection. I do believe it was a first fruits resurrection. Yeshua being the first fruit. And then, probably 500 years, maybe 4,900 years later, for the, Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks resurrection. There was probably another premillennial resurrection. And this would have been all the saints that had died after that. The saints, if you know your scriptures in Revelation, the patience of the saints. These are the set apart ones. They keep the commandments of the Most High and the testimony, the faith of Messiah Yahushua. So there's two things required. You want to be a saint, you want to enter sainthood, which I would love to. You got to keep the commandments. You also have to believe in Messiah. So there's two things there. It's not just one. You got to believe in that. You got to keep the commandments. The commandment is to believe in the only begotten Son of Elohim. So there's a lot of commandments we need to be keeping and guarding, But anyways, so these saints, what I was saying in Ascension of Isaiah, I feel like I'm talking so much.
It's okay.
Okay.
You have
All right.
you have the knowledge of all of this.
Okay,
So
I'm just putting out an opinion, but hopefully we can.
you're connecting dots.
Yeah, hopefully we can connect some dots here. But yeah, so Ascension of Isaiah talks about the saints are going to come. They're going to minister unto men. There's I don't want to quote too many places. There's another place that talks about they'll build temples. So temples will be built unto the saints so they can minister unto men. So these saints were returning ministering to men. That's why we're getting saint worship. And then it says in the Ascension of Isaiah, when they're done, when their time is done into the millennial kingdom, they will leave their bodies and go. They're going to go back up or go wherever they were to paradise, the city of Mashiach, city of Enoch, city of Shalom, city of Shem, all those places.
Yeah.
They're going to go.
So those people, those that they basically are the ones that you're saying their seed will become mingled with.
I'm just
Possibly.
using this verse in Enoch. It says their seed will become one with the children of men. Is this referring to the seed that's mingled amongst men? I'm not sure they were having babies, but it's possible. Is it possible that they came back and had families, had a life that, they should have had, but were killed off? I mean, these saints, we're talking about most of the saints and the prophets. I mean, pretty much all of them died horrible deaths, lived horrible lives. Yeah. They gave up their lives to save it. So were they given another life here? I don't know. But I do believe they came and ministered all over the world. We have records of this everywhere. Even I was reading St. George the other day, finishing it up. It's incredible. Even St. George comes back. And ministers in a church that was built for him after his death. I mean, he died like multiple times in his passion, but it's a possibility. We could also, like I said, there could be transhumanism here. It could also be Rome, the last kingdom, is mingling itself with man everywhere. That's why we get pieces of it everywhere. We're still Rome today.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had originally written like America melting pot. Like that's what I had.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that because Rome is still here today. We're talking about the city of seven hills, which the harlot, the whore of Babylon is sitting on a beast, the city of seven hills, a seven-headed beast. The city of seven hills is Jerusalem first, is a city of seven hills, then Rome, and then America. There's actually way more. There's a ton of cities of seven hills. Yeah. So this is an iteration of this kingdom that just keeps going and getting destroyed. We're probably the next one to be destroyed. We can all feel it. I think even, secular people, even people who are not reading Daniel can feel something's about to go down. Yeah. But this could be that. I'm just throwing out a possibility of ideas. What seed this is. Yeah. It could be angels. It could be angels mixing their seed with the seed of man again, which if they haven't already, they're trying to. So there's a lot of not sure what it could be. A lot of possibilities. Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to comment on anything else? Do you mean just finish reading this up?
Yeah, you can finish reading the chapter.
Okay. So Daniel 2, verse 46, then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and did obeisance before Daniel and gave orders to present to him an offering and incense. The sovereign answered Daniel and said, truly your Elah is the Elah of Elohim, the master of sovereigns and a revealer of secrets, since you were able to reveal this secret. Then the sovereign made Daniel great and gave him many gifts and made him ruler over all the province of Babel and chief of the nobles over all the wise ones of Babel. And Daniel asked of the sovereign, he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the work of the province of Babel, and Daniel in the gate of the sovereign.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
That's chapter 2.
Man, we're finished.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Okay. So what I think is amazing, if we go to Josephus, at the end of this chapter 2, Josephus kind of tells you, he says...
chapter 10.
Oh, I'm sorry, but corresponding to the end of chapter 2. But it says in Antiquities of Jews, it says, and this was not all, for he also imposed the name of his own God upon him, Belteshazzar. So Belteshazzar, we talked about this earlier. It means Bel is... You probably shouldn't even say it. But
Bel, protect the king.
Yeah, Bel, protect the king. This is, according to Josephus, this is when his name got changed, Daniel. Yeah. And if we read Daniel 1, it's kind of interesting because they carry the actual names of of Haniel as
Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Thank you. They carry their names and Daniel all the way up until this point. So why did they?
Yeah, they switched. They changed it right at the end of chapter 2.
Yeah, so they all of a sudden changed their names because Josephus is saying this is when his name was changed. Mm-hmm. You know, Nebuchadnezzar is saying, "Hey, your God is it. He's the God of gods." But then he changes his name. He still has that little bit of Baal worship. He's still keeping it. Just like all the kings of Israel, you see most of the kings. It's like you hope when you're reading Kings and you're like hoping maybe this king will be good. Yeah. But he still refuses to take down the high places.
Even the good kings, the very few good kings that are mentioned in the Kings are like, yeah, this one did good in the sight of Yah.
Yeah.
Except they didn't tear down the high places. They still had, like we do today. We're still clinging. There's something in each of our lives that we're still clinging to. Some sort of idol.
Something we still
worship.
Justify.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's something we've recently have been going through our lives. Like, what are we still justifying to hold on to? Sure. There's something more that we're still trying to keep.
What's keeping us from being truly sanctified and holy and, like you said, set apart, like being like who wants true sainthood. Yeah. What is that's keeping us from it? You know, what in our lives, what in this world? And so we're no different than these kings. Yeah,
we're working on our own salvation. It never ends. Yeah. I mean, you're constantly, trying to weed these things out. Yeah. You have to be a good husband. You have to be a good husbandry of your own garden, which is your soul. Mm-hmm. And you're going to allow this word to take root into your soul. It needs to. If you want it to, you've got to weed it out. You got to weed out the weeds that are in there, the world. Mm-hmm. You also have to water it. You have to keep watering it. There's all kinds of things. You don't want it to be choked out by anything. Yeah. And so you got to, cultivate your heart. Break up the fallow ground, Feral ground?
Pharaoh.
Oh, Pharaoh.
It could be feral too.
Or it could be either. Yeah, that's great.
That's another word.
All right. So I wanted to read real quick. This is 2 Baruch 39, verse 4. It says, moreover, that also again after a time will be verse 2. Behold, the days come, and this kingdom will be destroyed, which once destroyed Zion, and it will be subjected to that which comes after. This is Babylon. Babylon destroyed Zion. Moreover, that also again after a time will be destroyed. So this other king was Persia. And another, a third, will arise, and that also will have dominion for its time and be destroyed, Greece. Okay? Verse 5, and after these things, a fourth kingdom will arise, whose power will be harsh and evil, far beyond those which were before it. And it will rule many times as a forest on the plain, and it will hold fast for times. It will exalt itself more than the cedars of Lebanon, and by it the truth will be hidden, and all those who are polluted with iniquity will flee to it as evil beasts flee and creep into the forest. This is incredible. The truth will be hidden by this fourth kingdom. Mm-hmm. We just talked about the fourth kingdom being Rome. The truth, what did Rome do? I mean, they hid the truth. They took over the worship of Messiah. They took over the I don't want to say religion, but they took over everything that has been given by Yah, and they reformed it. Mm-hmm. They changed seasons, they changed times. Mm-hmm. They told you the truth no longer exists. What's the truth? When we read 2 Thessalonians, it says that they're not going to recognize the lawless one because they believe not the truth. What's the truth? The truth is Psalm 119, 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness forever, and thy Torah is the truth. The Torah is the instructions of the Most High Elohim. Rome, this fourth kingdom prophesied to hide so many things, hide the truth, hide the seasons, the times. This is why we can't find our calendar. It's why we're following Rome's calendar. And everything we do today is almost a reflection of Hellenization and then Rome. It's like Greece and Rome really changed everything, but especially Rome. Rome just erased so much. I think Greece was trying to establish some things, especially with the LXX being written. They were trying to establish knowledge and wisdom. Reestablish knowledge and wisdom. And Rome was trying to almost like do it for themselves. So there's so much about Roman history that I don't think we're being told when we read like Cassius Dio and some of these Roman historians. You're getting this picture of history that actually they don't even match each other. So I think they were all out for their own good, kind of like today, where you have so many different stories. Who knows what the truth is, especially with with everything. I mean, there's so many conspiracies.
Yeah.
But also so many false truths, so many things that we actually don't know what the actual narrative is. We're just trying to figure this out. Even today, I think that's exactly what they were doing with during Rome's time. But the rest of this, the chapter, this is 2 Baruch 39, verse 7. It says, and it will come to pass when the times of its consummation that it should fall has approached, then the principate of my Mashiach will be revealed. I think this is incredible because we're talking about Rome here. So when the time of its consummation, that it should fall. I think when we're looking at the fall of Rome, the official time frame is 400 to 500 AD. And this is the exact time frame, if we go with the LXX timeline, that we have the 1,000-year reign of Messiah. So the rule of Messiah happening, this is the 7th millennium, which is the 6,000th year, 7th millennium being the 7th day. So does that make sense?
Yep.
The 7th day since creation. And we know the 7th day is established forever as the Sabbath. It's the rest day. So it's the 1,000-year rest for the earth. This is when Rome falls, boom, Rome falls. All these other nations are destroyed. And Yeshua, it rules the earth with a rod of iron. Okay? It wasn't like a total peaceful rule. There was a lot of peace.
Yeah.
And in his holy mountain, nothing but peace. But there was a lot of fighting and getting things ready and getting things turned over to righteousness. The sword was given to the righteous. They were killing off dragons. They were killing off all these wicked men, all these wicked places they were trying to destroy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good, like we've talked about that in the 7 misconceptions in that video of the millennial kingdom, that being one. That there was just like total peace on the earth. Everybody was like in complete obedience and worship. But in Zechariah, we learn, I mean, that's really sort of like a good reference point too, right? The people were coming up during the millennial kingdom, keeping the fall feasts, but then some weren't. And people that weren't going to receive the rain. They weren't going to receive the blessings from the lack of obedience. So it's sort of like, it's a really good, I don't know, like for me, it's just like learning about the millennial kingdom, 1,000-year reign, like that there is war, there is disobedience, there's still evil, right? Even though Hassatan's like bound, right? Like there is still, there's not 100% complete obedience. Yeah.
His minions still ruling the earth and still running around doing.
Just because he's bound doesn't mean that his minion army isn't. Right?
I mean, and you like you mentioned Zechariah, I think Zechariah 14. It says that the nation that doesn't come up and celebrate Sukkot will not receive rain. So there are nations that are refusing the rule of Messiah. They still won't believe that they should do Sukkot. By the way, this is mentioned in Mandeville, John Mandeville. We reference that all the time. It's just because I love that book.
Yeah.
But it talks about nations coming up, making sacrifices, making first fruit offerings at the temple, which I think is incredible. So there were nations still going to Jerusalem, traveling there, bringing offerings, bringing the first fruits, bringing their sons 3 times a year, bringing the males 3 times a year to Jerusalem. This was happening during this, the quote, dark ages. But after, this all happened after the fall of Rome, because Rome, at least, what we talked about, the 2 legs being Rome, at least the Eastern Empire of Rome that was running the world and killing off had the blood of the saints on, killing off, the saints, the first Christians. They had to fall. They had to fall before the principate of Mashiach Had to come. Okay, so let's go to
Fourth Ezra.
Fourth Ezra, Second Ezra, 12. Here, you can read it.
Sure. Starting at 10. Okay, and he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom you saw come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of your brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto him, therefore now I declare it unto you. Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared of all the kingdoms that were before it. In the same shall 12 kings reign, one after another, whereof the second shall begin to reign, and shall have more time than any of the 12. And this do the 12 wings signify. You don't want me to read that.
No, that's
Just
fine.
stop at 15. Okay.
No, that's fine. This is awesome because this tells you what he saw. He says the fourth kingdom, right?
Yep.
And the eagle whom you saw up the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of your brother Daniel. Well, he doesn't say the fourth kingdom, but he does say this is the kingdom which Daniel saw. So I think this is amazing because we go back just in 12 verse 3, and it says the whole body of the eagle is burnt up. Okay, so it rose from the ashes. It rises from the ashes. This is it's burnt up afterwards. This is incredible because this is the beast who was not, and now is again. This is also the phoenix. If you know anything about the phoenix appears in Hierapolis, Egypt, every 500 years, and it rises from the ashes. It comes back. It burns itself up on an ash nest of ashes, depending on who you read. It turns into a worm. There's all kinds of different variations of it, but it burns itself up and it reappears every 500 years. It comes back to the same phoenix. So this is referring to it, or kind of showing that Rome is the phoenix. And the reason why this is Rome, this is what's incredible, because it says the 12 kings shall reign, one after the other. Wherefore the second shall begin to reign and shall have more time than any of the 12. If we look at official history, we had Julius Caesar being the first Caesar of Rome, and then Augustus. I'm sorry, Augustus. Well, it's Octavian.
I think it is Octavius.
Octavian. Yeah, Augustus. Yeah, he ruled the longest. So the second king ruled the longest, and then one king after the other. Eventually Nero is called the lawless one by Ascension of Isaiah, and you just keep going. These kings, these Caesars, were just. There's so much behind them that we just don't know, and that's where I've really been digging into different interpretations, different people who are saying what these kings were doing.
Yeah.
A huge, for me, a big question mark is Hadrian.
Which is like most people probably don't even know. Who's Hadrian? Have you talked about Hadrian?
I have. He's the one that built the temple of the Dome of the Rock.
Yeah. You talked about the temple. Okay.
Yeah. But he's a huge question mark, especially with the.
If anybody's watching this video, maybe they haven't seen that video, but Hadrian is just came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, you look at these kings and their succession and predecessors and everything that when you're going through, trying to see what they did and everything. There's so many. I mean, my goodness, like Nero. Official history says Nero committed suicide. The Talmud actually records Nero as turning to Judaism after the temple was destroyed, still alive. And he turned to Judaism and actually had a son who became a prophet in Judaism for the Jews. So there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
And for us to be so dogmatic and 100% like this is what happened, we don't know. Like I said, we're reading Daniel right now. This is our interpretation as of now. And if we read it all over again, we would have we could do a whole nother study of Daniel and mention totally different verses because there's so much to be put into this.
Puzzle pieces.
Yeah. And the more you read, the more puzzle pieces. You thought you were putting together a 100-piece puzzle. This is like a 1,000,000-piece puzzle.
It's like 500 and then it's 1,000. And it's kind of cool too though, right? So as you grow, our children, right? Our children love puzzles. Yeah. They start off with a 20-piece puzzle or a 10-piece puzzle.
Now they're doing.
And then as they grow and they learn and they get excited, it's you can give them bigger puzzles. And those puzzles, now our kids are putting together 750, 1,000-piece puzzles, But it's it comes with sort of age and maturity and time and desire, right? For his word. That's exactly what this is. This puzzle just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And especially I think the more we're open to reading texts outside of the 66. I think really there's more wisdom, there's more knowledge, there's more understanding contained in those books. So
I would say this is just my opinion, but I would say watch out for people talking about prophecy as if it's 100%. This is what's going to happen. I was just listening to a guy the other day who said something was going to happen, and it got me thinking, oh my goodness, it's happening.
Yeah.
And then that time came and went, nothing happened. It's like, that's the sign of a false prophet. It's at least a part of what you need to test about him.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to really watch out when we say we're 100%. If someone's saying they're 100%, in my opinion, they haven't read enough.
Yep.
There are so many puzzle pieces. We're not even putting together the puzzle. We are turning pieces over so we can see what they are.
Oh, that's good.
When you dump out a puzzle.
Yeah, and you got like the brown back, like the picture side.
You're just turning them over, getting ready to put them all together. That's honestly what we're doing.
Good, yeah.
Because there's so many pieces here. And the more we read, the more it just comes out.
And it's funny because you almost, we're going to like this puzzle like analogy, but like the outer edges, right? Those are like seems to be like
you try to get
the outer edge pieces of the puzzle, right? Like those are like the easiest pieces. Like that's sort of almost like we're uncovering and we're starting to kind of like get the outline of the puzzle.
Yeah. And that's with everything. That's even with the shape of the earth, with the calendar, with all these things. We're trying to get an idea of what it is scripturally based. Scripture should be the parameters, right? Or the borders.
Yep.
And then within that, you start building on some things, maybe official history, maybe just different things you learn in extra biblical texts. And you try to get this is just the honor of kings. That's it.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. You want to be a king and priest for Yah. I mean, the priests were teaching the Torah to the people. The kings were seeking out matters. Okay, seeking out wisdom, seeking out how to judge certain matters. I mean, I want to do that. And I feel like since Yah has brought me closer to him, and this is not a boastful statement. This is because I'm proud of what Yah has done in my own life.
Absolutely. Grateful.
I am. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
Complete gratitude.
Because I didn't deserve it. But when Yah brings you back to him, and a lot of y'all come into the Torah and following Yah, and understanding who he is and getting excited about that, like he's bringing you to decide who you're going to be. He's like, okay.
Your true identity.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I've invited you to the kingdom of my son's blood, my grace, my favor has been given to
Mercy.
you. And you believe in me, so I'm going to let you in. I'm going to let you in the kingdom. But I want you to follow Matthew 5. Don't be least in the kingdom. Don't get up here and be the custodian and mopping the floors in my kingdom. I want you to sit down at the table and eat of the food with me. Yes. I want you to be great in the kingdom. And to be great in the kingdom, you have to keep and teach the commandments. Every jot and tittle. That's something that, for whatever reason, that word fulfill just negates the whole chapter 5. Chapter 5 of Matthew for some people. But anyways, this is like, Yah wants you to be a king and priest. Seek it out. Strive for the prize. Strive for the mark of the prize, the high calling. Yeah. Paul tells you that, good old Paul.
Yeah.
Gives us a good quote there.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. So the 12 Caesars, this is what we're still searching out. But it's obvious to me that we're talking about Rome here. So, Fourth Ezra kind of gives you who Rome is. It goes on later. We could do a whole study about this because I do believe America is over here mentioned in verse 31, Napoleon in verse 27. I mean, there's just so Second Ezra.
Yeah, Daniel 12. We might want to come back here with Daniel 12.
Oh yeah, we got to.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we could just read Second Ezra the whole. Okay, so anyways, okay, so Rome is the eagle that you saw that was burnt up. Okay, it got destroyed. The millennial kingdom was allowed to have free reign on the earth. And then because of Yah is still merciful to Hastan. He releases him. And so Rome becomes again the one who was not, and is to come. That word is translated as he for the beast, but the word could be it. So it could be a nation. I don't not believe that it's a he. I do believe there is a specific entity who is the beast, but I also believe it is a nation as well. So the Phoenix. So let's read about the Phoenix real quick.
This way? Okay, so we still in Enoch? Okay.
Yeah, well, this is an account. What is that?
The account of Enoch. Let me show them the book. Anybody that has the collected works?
That's Zen Garcia. He's got if you don't know Zen, he's amazing. He translates a lot of these, not translates, he scribes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he's a scribe.
Scribes all these extra biblical texts, even fragments. This is a fragment of a prophetic a prophecy from Enoch. It's not in the original Enoch, but it's just a fragment. But.
Oh, I love this. Book of Enoch 1, verse 2 says, "From them I heard all things and understood what I saw, that which will not take place in this generation, but in a generation which is to succeed at a distant period on account of the elect." Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to read Enoch? I think Enoch's amazing if you haven't read it.
Okay, so Phoenix, verse 7.
Yeah.
Okay. At that time, Elohim showed him a vision of the great Leviathan and Behemoth. These two beasts were stirring up the population in the end of days. Behemoth was a beast of liberty, and Leviathan was one of royalty and power. They began as one beast with a name called Phoenix. The Phoenix died, and from the ashes arose these two great beasts. Behemoth eventually became greater and dictated its laws to the whole earth. It attacked Ishmael continually, even when he did not deserve to be punished.
This is amazing.
So good.
So good because, this appears to kind of go around the same track as Second Esdras, what we were just reading, Second Esdras 12. By the end of 12, we have the Phoenix, Rome. And then it kind of tells you what its feathers are and these different wings that are after it, these different nations. And then you have two small nations at the end that come out, which I believe is exactly what this is talking about, Leviathan and Behemoth, one for liberty, one for royalty and power. Okay, now this is just from a Western mindset and from us looking back at our time, it kind of sounds like we're talking about Britain and America. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's totally
Britain
possible.
being like the royalty,
the royalty,
piece of this,
yes,
and then the power coming from the United States, or liberty,
exactly,
coming from the United States.
Yeah, and it says, liberty being Behemoth, and it says Behemoth eventually becomes greater, not better. I'm sorry, becomes greater, and we're better.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, but we actually know some people from. Anyways, so that's kind of funny. But anyways, it becomes greater and it dictates its laws to the whole earth. I mean, let's just look at this like the possibility. Is this America?
Yeah.
I mean, America's literally dictating its laws to the whole earth. If anyone's watching this from other parts of the world, I'm sorry, because I do not agree. I think if we could all, if people could come together and realize that we're all the same, we're all the same. We're all seeking peace and we're all seeking love and something that only comes from Yah, whether we realize it's from Yah or not. We're all seeking the same thing. We're not seeking war with one another.
Unity. We want unity.
Unfortunately, the powers that be are going to get a lot of people killed all across the world. It's sad because we have been taught to hate different entities, Islam, Russia. I mean, it's all across the news. China, they tell us over here to hate those people. We're all the same. We're not your enemies, and the majority of us, the majority of everyone, I think we would honestly just love each other. But they're dictating this nation that we're in today. It's dictating its laws across the whole world, and it says it attacks Ishmael even when it's not deserving of it. I think that's crazy because, that's the whole Gulf Wars and things we've been going on. We've been, dismantling the Middle East for a long time. But let's see, verse 8.
Oh, sure. Then another beast came up. It awoke from a slumber. The beast was a dragon-like beast with 10 horns, returning to reclaim its 2 severed heads, that is, Leviathan and Behemoth. The 2 beasts fought for a while, but gave in afterwards. Now the dragon-like beast was again whole, and it ruled the whole earth. It placed its seal upon the multitude until one like the Son of Man came and destroyed the beast.
So that's amazing. Yeah. So this beast, if it's really in our time, this beast is coming to reclaim its 2 severed heads, which it tells you it's the phoenix back here that had its head severed. The beast they began as one beast with a name called the phoenix. The phoenix died, and from the ashes arose 2 great beasts. And so this is the return of the phoenix. If that is Rome, it's the return of Rome. And I think that's what we're seeing today. I think it says they both fought for a while, eventually gave in, and it placed its seal, the mark of the beast, it appears to be mark of the beast, upon the whole world. And then one like the Son of Man came to destroy the beast. Okay, and that's when the end. Okay, that's, we're looking at, what does Yeshua do? Yeshua, his advent comes, he's crucified, he's resurrected, and Yah says, sit here on my right hand Well, I make all your enemies your footstool. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. Okay, so he gets to sit down at the right hand of Yahuwah on a throne. So a king, Melchizedek king, sits on down on his throne. He's a priest king. He gets to sit there and rule. Okay, and every enemy is going to be destroyed. The last enemy being destroyed is death. So death has not been destroyed yet. So that's the last enemy. So I'm toying with the idea that Yeshua's return, what we know is the second coming. I'm so sorry for my
Don't apologize.
children.
It's just what life is.
Yeah, but anyway, at least they're playing, not fighting. but anyway, so Yeshua, I'm toying with the idea that is it possible that there are multiple comings of Yeshua? Possibly. Is it possible that what we know of the second coming was not for the millennial reign, but actually for the judgment? Okay, to come down and judge not only flesh, but judge the soul. For all souls to be judged at this point. This is what we would know as the Great White Throne Judgment, or the end of Revelation 20 going into 21. This is the stone that comes down, and then it says it comes down, and eventually, just like Josephus said, it increased. And as it increased, then it broke everything into pieces and shattered it. And so it was completely gone, and it ruled the earth forever after that. So that, and you read in Enoch 93, it says there's many weeks after this week. It just keeps going. The earth.
So it's cyclical, right?
Yeah, cyclical. Honestly, I don't like. I think even though we read things like, the kingdom coming down on earth, it'll be here. There's still, I might be wrong in saying this, but I think it's not going to be perfect. I think there will still be sin allowed in places of the earth, and people are still going to rebel. They always rebel against Yah. There'll still be weeks and weeks, world without end. It keeps going.
Yeah.
We talk about, this is the end of days. This is it. Well, it was the end of days in the first century as well. It was the end of days in the 500s. And it's probably going to be the end of days in our time frame as well. It seems like we're headed in that direction.
Yeah.
But I do think this is possibly where we're at, the Phoenix, and this is exactly what we read. This just kind of gives you an idea of what we're reading in Daniel 2. So hopefully we're able to paint a picture that Rome is this fourth beast. It's the one to rule the whole world with a rod of iron, not a rod of iron. What does it say? Part of iron. I know. It breaks in pieces and subdues all things. So it just rules the whole earth.
It bruises. That's an interesting word.
And bruises, yeah. And it hid the truth. I'm really, really curious, and I want to do more study on this. Where does Tartaria fit in this? Because we've been told a lie about Tartaria. It's been hidden from us. This is something that was... Tartaria was documented so everywhere. There's so much history about it, and we're not told what it is. So I don't know how this fits in there. I do not believe Tartaria was a righteous kingdom. Everything I've read about it, they weren't that great. but I'm curious where it fits in this. What I do think is amazing. I Googled this the other day.
Yeah.
And this is something that never showed up on Google. But all of a sudden it did. And for some reason I Googled, when did Tartaria end? And it said...
if you had Googled that before, what do you think Google would have said? Before you tell them what it actually said?
I don't know, but it was not... You couldn't find it. Every time you Google something...
Would it even have a search
nothing.
result?
It would say Tartaria is a conspiracy theory. It would have never said anything. But I Googled it the other day, and just a few weeks, or maybe a month ago, and it said Tartaria ended on World War II. World War II is the last effort to destroy it. I'm like, what?
There's actual evidence that they're saying it existed and then was destroyed.
I'm like, World War II was the last effort to destroy it? I mean, who were we fighting in World War II? Were we fighting Tartarians?
Crazy.
Or the remnants of Tartaria? It's crazy. So
it's crazy just even a few years ago, what would not have been said about it, or what would have been said about it. And then like almost like the little like shreds of truth that are coming out, possibly.
It's crazy. I don't know if...
that's so wild.
What it was the last effort to stop the Phoenix. Maybe Tartaria is the Phoenix, and maybe Rome is actually Tartaria. I don't know. I think there's something to be studied here. So there's something for y'all to look at too, because one
People
man
are looking at. Maybe people are already looking at it too.
Yeah, one man can't know it all. One of our friends just said something this past week about some other book I had never. I don't think I read it.
Yeah.
No, we did read it, but I hadn't even thought about it. We should have read it to put in this video. We had read it, but I hadn't even thought about it, how it correlates to Daniel. So you cannot possibly know. We have to go into this together and figure out who are these people talking about. I do believe this is Rome. Yeah. But if this is Tartaria too, if Rome is actually an extension of Tartaria, that would be, or Tartaria is an actual extension of Rome, a reinvention after Rome was destroyed. I don't know. I mean, I think it's crazy. I mean, what if Yah destroys Rome back in the 500s, and then they kind of reinvented themselves, taking over and breaking in pieces. You read the stuff in, like, especially in Marco Polo, John Mandeville, IBM Batuta. You read those books, and you read about what Rome did. I mean, what Tartaria did. They broke in pieces the earth. They were going around taking over kingdoms constantly, and people were like traveling, and they're like, "Yep, this one, the Great Chan rules this. The Great Chan rules that. The Great Chan, or it says Chan. It could be Khan. It's actually Genghis Khan, but he's like, he's ruling this. He's ruling that." And John Mandeville gives you some where this is becoming a Tartarian video, but John Mandeville tells you that that Tartarians, their seed came from Ham. Chan actually comes from Ham, Cham, the Hebrew of Ham. So Genghis Khan is actually a descendant of Ham, which is really interesting. And if you know anything about Tartaria, they had some crazy human hybrids there. We're talking, all these crazy, wild men, cynic folly, all these crazy human hybrids. These were actually things that Ham was doing, and Nimrod. So this could be the Phoenix too. So
let's reel it in.
Yeah, we got to. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Did you read something from the Dead Sea Scrolls or no?
Okay, this is the last thing. Okay, this is from the vision of the son of Elohim from the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is just something I thought was interesting. And it's just a fragment. It says, "Until the people of Elohim arise, then all will have rest from warfare. Their kingdom will be an eternal kingdom, and all their paths will be righteous. They will judge the land justly, and all nations will make peace. Warfare will cease from the land, and all the nations shall do obeisance to them. The great Elohim will be their help. He himself will fight for them, putting peoples into their power and overthrowing them all before them. Elohim's rule will be an eternal rule, and all the depths of the earth are his."
Wow, powerful.
That's incredible, because when we read Daniel doesn't say millennial kingdom of peace. It doesn't say that. It says the kingdom forever. Like multiple times. I think I said 7, but I think you had written down 8 times in Daniel. It says the kingdom is forever. And it all starts with the advent of Messiah, the tiny little seed. The kingdom is like the tiny little part that's put into the soil, and it grows into a great tree, and all the birds of the earth lodge in it. It's because the kingdom it starts out small, and it increases upon the earth to where no kingdom can sustain it but itself. And it breaks, destroys the earth for fruit, like rod of iron across the whole earth. So there's a lot of bloodshed that has to happen for that to happen. So it does say war stops, but war has to be done in righteousness. So it's a righteous wars that are being exacted.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I talked way too much.
This was good. No, this is the thing. I feel like, like you said, I mean, we just did a Daniel study a year ago with some friends of ours. And I think even since then, some of these books are coming into play. Like we weren't reading Josephus with it, for example. Some of these other books we were reading with it, but like, you mentioning John Mandeville, Marco Polo, the historical kind of accounts from these men in the early 1300s, 1400s, whatever. I mean, I think those are things like you said, we keep coming back. You keep reading it. You read and you reread. You read the Torah, you read the prophets. I mean, that's why it's so important to be meditating on the Torah, but also to be in the Word, studying prophecy. And so much of our lives have been reading this with the vision of like it's to happen, not has happened. And so I think that's why you're so passionate about getting the message of like this hunger for righteousness, this hunger for truth. Because I think the more we pursue it, the deeper, the closer we get to Yah, right? The more we want to know Him, and to know Him is to keep His commandments and to study His Word, right? To be the meditation of our heart, like David says. So I think it's good. I mean, this is something that you're passionate about. Like, Yah, you've always had prophecy. Prophecy's always been a passion of yours. And praise the Most High that He is just continually imparting to each of us, knowledge, and like you said, like not one person knows it all, but like there are certain aspects of His Word that we just are excited about, and that's a good thing, praise Yah for that.
I think it's in Revelation, it says the testimony of Yeshua is the spirit of prophecy.
Yes, it does.
So,
and we read about spirit of prophecy, somewhere else just recently. Was that in Isaiah?
It might have been Isaiah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the spirit of prophecy given to the prophets, given to a lot of the disciples and things like that. This is the testimony of Yeshua. Yeshua is actually visiting the word of Elohim came upon Isaiah. The word of Elohim came upon Ezekiel.
Yeah.
This, and this is why I really, honestly, I love this stuff. I love searching out. And I might be totally wrong in some of the things I said. Hopefully I'm like saying something that will get others thinking, so we can all figure this out together.
Yeah.
But real quick, the most important thing, and I don't think I said this at the beginning of the video, but we say this on most videos, understand Millennial Kingdom, none of this actually matters. The whole duty of man is to keep the commandments, fear Elohim, and keep His commandments. That's what we need to be doing. By the way, there's a command to, listen and obey the prophet, the son of Elohim. And so we should be doing that. So believe in Him. That's a commandment. So there's that's the whole duty of man. That's what's most important. And then we can seek these kind of fun, to me this is like to me this is like the dessert,
Yeah.
It's like you already had
meal.
Yeah, you already had your good meal, and you got eternity, and there's a lot of amazing things you want to enjoy. But now you got dig into some dessert,
Yeah.
So
that's good.
All right.
All right. Bye.